Let's take a look at the quadratic formula. Let me first write down the quadratic formula so we can review it. For our quadratic formula, it's for problems of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. Typically, a, b, and c are numbers. A is never a 0, but a, b, and c don't have to be numbers. Now, if it's in that form, then you can write your answer directly and then do a little bit simplifying. X is equal to negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So let's look at some examples. Let's see, x squared plus 2x plus 5 equals 0. Well, we got 0 on the right side, so that's the first thing. Let's identify a, b, and c. A is a number before the x squared, which is 1. B is a number before the x, which is 2. And c is our number at the end, which is 5. If you mess up on signs, it's probably a good idea for you to go through and put parentheses everywhere you have a variable, which I'll do. Everything else remains as is. Now where the b is, I'll put in 2. Where the a is, I'll put in 1. And where the c is, I'll put in 5. So then we got negative 2 plus or minus 2 squared is 4 minus 4 times 1 is 4 times 5 is 20. So we got 4 minus 20 over 2, which gives us negative 2 plus or minus 4 minus 20 gives us negative 16 over 2. And negative 16 is negative 1 times 4 times 4 over 2. And remember, a square root, we're looking for a pair of somethings. Here's a pair of 4s. That's going to come out as a single 4. And this negative 1 will come out as an I. So this becomes negative 2 plus or minus 4i over 2. The square root disappears because everything disappears from underneath it. Now, since we have an I, we want to split it apart into the real part. So I'll put the negative 2 over 2. And the imaginary part separate. So I'll put the 4 over 2 with an I to the side. Now negative 2 over 2 is negative 1, and 4 over 2 gives us 2 with an I. And that would be our answer. Let's look at our next example. X squared minus 10x plus 1 equals 0. Now again, we have 0 on the right side, so that's the right form. A will be what's before our x squared, which is 1. B will be what's before our x, which is negative 10. And C will be a number at the end, which is 1. So we're going to have negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Now where our b was in our formula, we'll put in negative 10. Where our a was, we'll put in 1. And where our c was, we'll put in 1. Well, negative negative gives us a positive, so this becomes positive 10 plus or minus. Negative 10 squared is 100 minus 4 times 1 gives us 4 over 2, which gives us 10 plus or minus square root of 96 over 2. And that becomes 10 plus or minus 96 is 2 times 48. That's 2 times 24. 2, 4, I think that's right. Let me see. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. 32 times 3 is 96. Okay. And we're looking for a pair of numbers. Here's a pair of 2's that's going to come out. Here's a pair of 2's that's going to come out. Now when they come out with multiplication between them. So that's like 2 times 2 out in front. And inside we have 2 times 3, which leaves us 6 there, over 2. So we got 10 plus or minus 2 times 2 is 4, square root of 6, over 2. And this should be called something like the 3-number rule. But if you can divide this number, and this number by the same number, do so. And they're all divisible by 2. So that gives me 5 plus or minus 2 square root of 6 over 1. Or just simply 5 plus or minus 2 square root of 6. And that's my answer. Last example, the quadratic formula. We got x squared minus 12x plus 20 equals 0. Again, we have 0 on the right side, so that's the first thing. Next thing is we've got to identify a, b, and c. So a is the number for the x squared, which is 1. B is the number for the x, which is negative 12. And c is your number at the end, which is 20. I'm going to go through, and everywhere I have a variable, I'll put in parentheses. So we've got negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Now wherever we had a negative 12, or wherever we had a b, we'll put in negative 12. Wherever we had an a, we'll put in 1. And wherever we had a c, we'll put in 20. So negative negative gives us positive 12, plus or minus. What's that, 144? Negative 12 squared. Minus 4 times 1 is 4 times 20 gives me 80. Over 2. Which gives us 12 plus or minus 144 minus 80 is 64. Which gives us 12 plus or minus 64 is 8 times 8. And remember, with a square root, we're looking for a pair of somethings. Here's a pair of 8s. That's going to come out as a single 8. So we got 12 plus or minus 8 over 2. And this is one of the cases where it helps you to break them apart. That plus or minus means I'm going to have 12 plus 8 over 2 and 12 minus 8 over 2. Well, 12 plus 8 is 20, and 20 over 2 gives me 10. 12 minus 8 is 4, and 4 over 2 gives us 2. And those are our two answers.